I realized that the way I've been approaching a lot of my relationships was not right. Hey guys, so today I'm gonna be getting ready for prom and also getting vulnerable because I just feel like being in lockdown for so long and being around my family for so long, something's really gotten to me, and I just wanted to share some of the things that I've learned because, especially since we're all stuck at home, this is a really great time to strengthen or repair your bond with your family. Obviously, this does not apply for abuse or anything along those guidelines, but I'm just gonna go put my brows on because that takes forever. I'm back. My eyebrows don't look bad as they normally do, which is a very good thing. One of the first things that I really realized in lockdown was that I actually had a lot more friends that cared about me than I thought. Oh, that sounds kind of mean, but I don't know. I just feel like there are a lot of people in my classes who I know more on a surface level, but I don't really consider them to be like friends. More like acquaintances that I consider friends because they're in my class, and so we have to interact every day for like 4 months or so. And yeah, but recently a lot of my friends have been calling me and just like checking in on me and asking me about, how I'm doing, what I'm up to, and just talking about university and things like that. So I feel really grateful for those people for, reaching out to me. But I also feel like when my friends text me like memes and stuff, and they're like, oh, this made me think of you, it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Like, on the other hand, there are also a lot of people who I realize were kind of just like mooching off of me for other things, I guess, like school related, like editing or help. And I'm not saying that they're just using me, but I think that on a deeper level we're not as close as I wished or as I thought. And so this lockdown has really shown me, isn't mascara supposed to go on after eyeshadow? Whatever. Yeah, so this lockdown kind of just showed me who's really in my life, and when it comes down to it, who I can actually trust. On a different note, one of my university friends used to tell me that eyelash curlers, he was like, yeah, so Leona, what happens if you're curling your eyelashes and you sneeze? Because then like the whole thing just comes off. And Cole, I'm gonna tell you that I've been scared of eyelash curlers ever since. So I'm editing now, and I realized that I was rambling for a lot of it and just, a lot of weird nonsense. Alright, so during this part, I think I was just trying to figure out what to do with my face. Well, my concealer actually has kind of a yellow undertone, whereas I think I have a peach undertone, so I usually add a little touch of lipstick. I'm not used to adding this shade of lipstick, and, you'll notice later, but I kind of screwed up. So over here, I'm just talking about how I miss interacting with my friends and how I miss expressing my affection and my love. Please reach out to me, talk to me, send me a meme, whatever. Send me a picture of your dog or cat if you have one. I would love to see it. Yeah, I added too much lipstick. Yeah, I told you. I just feel like as the oldest daughter, I had a lot of pressure on me to like grow up fast so I could kind of like co-parent or like sub-parent, I don't know. And I just feel like I had a lot of resentment towards my parents for making me grow up so fast and not letting me like, be a child. And I was also kind of upset because I feel like my parents had very high expectations towards me that they didn't have towards my brother. And I feel like that made me very stressed. And I just feel like if I had more time to grow, then I probably would have been a lot happier than I am now. But the other day I had a really good conversation with my mom, and we both cried. Like, I was bawling my eyes out. We were just talking about how I was always like the older sister, and I had to take care of my brother. And so my mom said that, I don't know, just that things like she felt like I could take it, and the reason why she had such high expectations of me was because as a child, my teachers used to say that I was pretty like smart. Not to brag or anything, but my teachers thought that I was pretty good at, like, you know, reading, writing, literacy. Not very good at math or science, but I think especially because I grew up in a Western environment, I always had this idea that my parents should be like my friends, and they should support me like my friends do. It would just felt really nice to have like a heart-to-heart with my mom about some of the thoughts that I had, because as you guys might know, I'm going off to university soon, hopefully, and I have just had a lot of pent-up feelings where I felt like going to university would solve a lot of my problems, because no one is giving me expectations that I feel like I have to live up to. Love can be expressed in so many different ways, and it's not always going to be with words. Yeah, I put on too much lipstick, but the message is that I want the best for you, and especially from immigrant parents, it's like, I don't want you to struggle the way I did. Well, I think I definitely had a better understanding of what my mom had in mind, because otherwise I probably would have went off to university and still resented my mom for, I don't know, like making me grow up fast. Here I am rambling about Tiger Tail. Tiger Tail's this movie by Alan Yang, which talks about a Taiwanese man who immigrates to the United States and his little journey on becoming more open and talking more with his daughter, who, like me, also grew up outside of Taiwan, and so she always felt like she had a really hard time communicating with him. There was this one scene where they were sitting down and she said, you know, I just feel like I'm not able to talk with you about things. And my mom had this idea that that's how I felt too. So we had a good conversation after that. Yeah, I think I kind of look like a clown with this blush. Normally it applies a lot better, but Bob Ross said that there are no mistakes, just happy accidents. And I look kind of happy, maybe a little drunk. I probably have Asian flush, so anyways, the hair also looks very clown-like. You know, I might as well go put on the wig and just also the shoes, and you know, the big red nose. This lockdown has also shown me like what people are really like. Maybe this is more on a community scale, but I don't know, I still feel like there are a lot of people who are internally racist, and they're like, oh, you know, I'm not racist. But coronavirus has really given people a spotlight, or like a platform to kind of reveal their racist beliefs, while they're kind of like, I'm not racist, like this is just how it is, like it did come from China. Well, like nobody can deny that it came from China, but I think that, like, especially with other viruses and flus around the world, like nobody makes such a big deal about the ethnicity or the actual country. The other day I went walking and white people were like dodging me like crazy, so I don't know. Maybe I was wearing a mask, but I think that this has also shown me how weird cultures can be. Even though I was born here and I was also raised here, I always felt like I had a really strong connection to my Taiwanese culture and my Taiwanese heritage. Every year or every other year, I make a big effort to go back to Taiwan and spend some time with my family, my relatives, and just appreciate the culture in general. I've received every level of education that I have in Canada. In fact, I'm even going to be studying in Canada next year for university. But for some reason, I always felt like my mannerisms, thoughts, and beliefs are pretty Taiwanese in nature. I feel like it's just getting worse. So, for instance, for healthcare, it's a pretty normal thing for people to put on masks, even if they're not sick, but to be safe in a public space. So, on the subway, on a train, and in a plane. Here, people view masks as kind of an indication of illness. I used to think like this as well, but last year I went to the biggest hospital in Taiwan, and I realized that everyone was wearing a mask. It didn't matter what they were there for, everyone was just wearing a mask, and that really opened my eyes to a different aspect of culture that I hadn't even thought of before. Another really interesting thing that I've been thinking about, especially in light of this pandemic, is how different Taiwanese culture is from Canadian or American culture. So if you've been reading up on philosophy, you know what a social contract is. So some people give up some rights in order for society to flourish, and I think that that's what a lot of Taiwanese people do. So the lockdown was only 2 weeks, but I found that pretty much everyone was okay with staying at home and just keeping everybody else safe. Whereas here, there's kind of an argument about freedom and rights because people see themselves as more of an individual than a member of a group or a society. I don't know if this is a cultural thing, but I feel like it might be, so here we are. My mom grew up in a country and a society where jobs were not easy to come by, and I feel like that's kind of a common theme now everywhere you go. Even engineers, doctors, and scientists, people that traditionally did really well in the job market, are having a really hard time finding some well-paying jobs that also provide insurance and good vacation time. So of course my mom wanted me to find a job that had stability and something that wouldn't depend on trends that might change or fade away. I initially applied for social sciences. I realized that all my mom really wants is for me to be happy and for me to not stress about my job and my work. She also recognized that this Western concept of studying whatever you want is kind of not very practical to some extent. While we do believe that if you really love something, you work really hard and you're really good at it, then you can make a career out of essentially everything. There's also this factor of risk where you don't know how easy it is to get a job and how easy it is to keep it. This is a finished product. I don't really know what went on here. I'm gonna walk in and oh yikes. I'm pretty happy with it, you know? Even if I didn't have prom, this was a really good opportunity to dress up anyways, just for fun. Hey guys, thank you as always for your support. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. That's it from me. See you next time.